Jan Duiker, 1890-1935. So he lived 5 years longer than Pugin. Pugin died at 40. Jan Duiker died at 45. They both died young. At least in architecture, to die at 40 or 45 is to die young. In poetry, it's not like this. To die at 40, I exaggerate a little bit, but in poetry, to die at 40 is to die old. Anyway, here he was. Here he was an interesting architect, and you are going to see some interesting modern buildings that he built, plus the collaboration with Charot for the famous Maison de Verre, the house, the glass house built in Paris. So Jan Duiker, born on March 1st in The Hague in 1890. So he was born about 38 years later from the death of Pugin, and died in before the Second World War started. Was a Dutch architect, partnership with Bernard Bijvoet from 1919 until 1925. For the commission of the Zonnestraal project, the architects were recommended by Hendrik Berlage, a great architect about whom I talked a few days earlier. This architect left the Netherlands in 1925. I mean, his partner, to work, whose name I have difficulties to pronounce, and I apologize, left the Netherlands in 1925 to work in Paris with Pierre Charot for projects such as Maison de Verre et al. Jan Duiker is one of the most important. I'm a little bit confused because here it says this Bernard Bijvoet left the Netherlands for the. Well, I thought Jan Duiker did too. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe his partner left to work for Pierre Charot. I have to double check this. I thought that actually Jan Duiker worked with Pierre Charot, but it's possible I'm wrong. His partner did so. I apologize. So he died in 1935, and he's buried in this Zutphen cemetery. Townhouses in the Hague, 1919, 1922. You know, they have sloping roofs, but there is something about them. So let's read again, 1919, 1922. We remember in 1919, the Bauhaus was born from an exalted spirit of Walter Gropius. These buildings also, in my opinion, have a vigorous modernity about them, despite so-called traditional roofing. Now, another residential area with villas, 1921, 1923, rather modest houses, perhaps nothing exceptional here, except the car. I'm joking, of course. And again, rather unexceptional buildings, but we are going to see different architectures from him. Although something interesting is happening here too, because there is, I don't know if the building was not refurbished and changed certain things, like the larger, doors and, the windows. But otherwise, the building is in good measure, rather so-called traditional. That's what he built. Now, another house from 1924, 1925, so almost 100 years ago, all of a sudden, modernity, abruptly so. And I actually salute it, in as much as I like the ornaments and the sensitivity of Augustus Pugin. I also like this modernity, and I understand in a way the reaction of this modernity to, maybe at times they became excesses of the turn of the century, at the end of the 19th century. Anyway, this is a building that, yes, is presented in the series of great buildings, as you can see. Let's look at it again. And it was built before Villa Savoie, which was built in 1928. This was built in 1924, 1925. Jan Duiker. It's amazing in a way, no, that in just 1 or 2 years, he arrived at such architecture before doing this. Incredible transformation, isn't it? Showing again the appreciable flexibility of mind the Dutch have. They are indeed open to the new, and it's shown even here. This was built almost 100 years ago, but it's a building which even today would be considered contemporary, so to speak, or modern. A sanatorium from 1926, 1928, nomination for UNESCO World Heritage. Look at this. So it was built again before Villa Savoie, and its modernity is for all to see. It's a clean modernity here, if I am to use the word clean. There are things here that no one would contest, that they belong to our time, to our beloved modernity. It's quite a good building, actually, and I understand why UNESCO is considering, bringing it to the list of protected building. I don't know if it received that status, but it's a luminous building that deserves appreciation, no doubt. And I'm glad that it was, taken care of. It is an excellent building. Very different, of course, from what we saw by Pugin, but excellence is excellence. And we have to take our hats off in front of excellence. Yes, there is a lot of glass, but 100 years ago, there wasn't any concern with the climate change, losses of energy, and so on. Jan Duiker. Sanatorium. We also remember the Paimio Sanatorium by Alvar Aalto and his wife. They both did great work there, and here is Jan Duiker. I guess in this field, some important buildings were erected. That one also by the Aalto family was built in nature, surrounded by trees and so on. And yes, it is appropriate for a sanatorium to, if possible, to have the proximity of the ever generous trees. We should be immensely grateful that there are trees in the world, and we should abstain from cutting any. We shouldn't cut any tree. They do us a great service in their humble way. Look how it was, the building. So, here is the loving care of those who decided to protect it, and I'm very glad they did. Once this building was like this. Villa Savoie itself, at one moment, it was almost like this. Anyway, Bernard Bijvoet said in one of his publicities for architecture that the most architectural thing about the Villa Savoie was the state of decay it was in. And I would understand why Bijvoet wrote this malicious statement. Nirvana, residential building in The Hague, 1928-1930. Even this building, you know, it has vigor in its prismatic, you know, monolithical way. It's obviously Jan Duiker was a talented architect. And look at the car and look at the building. The car is obsolete, although the nostalgics would still love it, but in a different way than the building. The building still has an appreciable amount of so-called modernity. Now, an open air school in Amsterdam South, 1929, 1930. I hope I have better pictures. Yes, I do. This one also is well taken care of. And we see echoes of the sanatorium he built. Again, an excellent architecture, modern, clean, white, luminous, with glass, but you see the glass has character because it is divided into smaller parts. It's not the same glass that we use today, where we just use a huge piece of glass that is undivided in smaller parts. No, this one I think makes a subtle clean towards the past because the past didn't have such huge glassy pieces of glass as we have today. And this can also accommodate windows that open and so on. I find them more humane. I'm usually kind of an adversary of glass, but not like this. This is, I hope I have the plan here because it's rather interesting, the plan of this open air, as it is called. Why is it called open air school? Because there are this in the corner, huge terraces. So I imagine they had classes that took place on the terrace in open air. Bravo to them. Yes, look at the plan. The idea to have these large terraces for open air lessons or classes is very, very nice, I think. And, you know, it's a building within the city. It didn't benefit from a large space around it. So it provided space upstairs for classes in open air. And anything in open air, I think, is an attempt to bring us closer to what is not us. That is, you know, nature or the so-called environment and so on. I like the plan, you know, and it has the rotation, it has dynamic qualities, although it is based on the square. It's a simple scheme, but I think it is valid. Here is a model. At night, the ample terraces maybe are not so easily perceivable, but you saw them in the plan. They are quite ample. They are from here, from this wall to this wall. So the idea to have, you know, open spaces that are large is, I think, good, and maybe this could be used for various programs. Maybe even for bureaucratic buildings, you know, to break the, you know, the monotonous, you know, self-satisfied, you know, divorce between us and the outside, and to use all that paraphernalia of protection that Lerem Kohl has talked about. So here are again some drawings with the plans and sections of the section of the building. Jan Duiker, Amsterdam, Amsterdam South. This is a resolute modernity which even today looks fresh and almost radical, I would say. Excellent work. Bravo to him. So very different from what Augustus Pugin advocated and did, but still excellent. A very simple scheme, but efficient and eloquent as well. A technical school from 1930 to 1931. We remember he died in 1935. So unfortunately, we are not too far away from the year when he died. Jan Duiker. You see, this is what you cannot do with a large piece of glass, just a single large piece of glass. But if you have smaller, if it is divided, the large glass surface in smaller parts, yes, you can open, if not the whole of it, parts of it. And this is important. Now here we see glass bricks that were also used in that Maison de Verre, where at least his former partner worked, but I have to verify this. I thought it was Jan Duiker who collaborated with Pierre Charot. I will end this presentation with some images from Maison de Verre, even if Jan Duiker himself didn't work for it, but his former partner did. And it's an important building, and we'll see there also the use of glass bricks quite well and quite extensively. Another, I would say, excellent building built by Jan Duiker, 1930. Again, glass bricks. Why is it that the Dutch have so many great architects and designers? I keep asking myself, an artist, what is about this nation? I mean, almost every day I discover a new architect, and even in the present, they have famous and less famous, excellent architects and designers and artists. What is it? Maybe it helps to live under the level of the sea, at least 1/3 of the country. Maybe it helps. Those who are fortunate to live above, less inclined to achieve excellence in intellectual or artistic fields, it seems. I guess I could understand this in a way. So here is a perspectival drawing of this building that we just saw. And even here, there are very interesting things. Again, this is a building built 90 years ago that today would be very relevant for us in the 21st century. Yes. It didn't grow old. It didn't. Oh, yes, it's not Gothic revival architecture, no, far from it. But I would like to think that Pugin would have appreciated, in as much as I would like to think that Jan Duiker would have appreciated what Pugin stood for, because I think excellence is beyond style. A cinema in Amsterdam, we are approaching the end, 1934, a building in the corner of the street. This is a view at night. And you will see also the plan, an interesting, a difficult context in terms of the urban context within which it found itself. I hope I have the plan. It's a cinema. It's a place for watching movies, and the building itself, without this big announcement, is as it is. It would have still had some dignity in its simplicity. But the rhetorics of this huge naming makes it you know, indeed, somehow constructivist in the sense of some utopian proposals made by the Russian architects at the beginning of the 20th century. So you can, for certain programs, create something spectacular, even with means not intrinsically, you know, relating to what we call architecture. Look at the plan. You know, it's really a difficult. I hope I was yes, here you see better. So here there is the intersection between two streets, and very interestingly he solved that you know the you know the needs, the functional needs for a cinema. I actually am intrigued both by the plans and the physicality of the building. Again, a skillful architect, Jan Duiker. Well, from the outside, you wouldn't really expect this plan. You wouldn't really expect, you know, the diagonal organization of spaces. But I think he solved it rather unusually and interestingly, the problem because here was, I imagine, an existing building, and here another existing building. So he squeezed his cinema in between these two buildings in the corner in a working way. Interesting building. Jan Duiker. And the cinema it is for all to see. And we see here the tensions between, you know, the right angle, rectangularity, and then the distortions, the disjunctions that the diagonal provoked. And somehow he negotiated between them very creatively. And the bikes, the Dutch bikes. We can learn from the Dutch to all use bikes, bikes and bikes again. The bike is the vehicle of the future, in my opinion. Maybe if Mr. Bush would have used the bike and those who provoked the war in Iraq for oil, maybe they would have abstained from provoking it. And what can I say? I was hoping, I would be hoping that Mr. Putin would take the bike too. Because when you bike, maybe you become less aggressive towards other countries in the horrid ways in which he manifests his so-called masculinity. Winter department store in Amsterdam, 1934, 1935. We remember he died in 1935. I don't know if it still exists. Amsterdam was more lucky in the Second World War than Rotterdam. Rotterdam was destroyed in good measure, well, in sad measure by the Second World War, but Amsterdam was not. But it's possible some buildings either were demolished or they suffered in the war as well. I only have this picture of this building. Then here is a from this year famous actually series of books on great architects, one issue dedicated to Jan Duiker. Now hotel and theater in Hilversum finished by the other architect, who apparently was the one who worked with Pierre Charot for the Maison de Verre, the glass house, which will end this presentation. So they worked together, but this his partner finished it in 1936, because as we know, he died in 1935. Grand Hotel, well, grand, not vertically, who knows, maybe in terms of comfort, I don't know, but the architecture is still that clean, white, luminous modernity that he promoted in his rather short career. Jan Duiker. Called the constructivist. Yes, I guess we could. Not a bad building either, this one. I mean, the staircase often is an eventful entity within almost any architecture. In this case, equally so. A grand hotel, but it's not grand in that rhetorical, emphatic, even arrogant way. No, I don't even know why it is called the Grand Hotel. And some graphic work that he did, I don't know if for this hotel. And now I want to show, because I thought he actually worked, but it seems his partner worked with Pierre Charot. Sorry about this. The Maison de Verre in Paris. It's maybe now the moment, since his partner, but maybe he worked too. I have to double check. But even if he didn't, you know, the connection is through his partner, who in fact finished the previous work because he died in 1935. This is a famous building usually associated with, the author is considered Pierre Charot. Was actually a designer, and then he received commissions in architecture. He left France and went to the United States. But in Paris, he built this important building called La Maison de Verre. Different from the glass house, for example, by Philip Johnson. Very different. This is the house of a doctor. So there is also an office, a medical office for this doctor within the house. You see the glass bricks. And yes, there is something enticing and valid about glass bricks. Even it seems that this Dutch architect who worked with Pierre Charot and was the partner of Jan Duiker was quite skillful. And apparently his influence on the project of the Maison de Verre was higher than initially was acknowledged. There are very interesting things happening here. Just look at the mechanism of opening the windows and the combination between mobile windows and the static windows done with glass bricks. Interesting work and very well designed indeed. It is a work which deserves to be known. Yes, Pierre Charot didn't quite work like this, so it's possible that the Dutch architect he worked with had a significant impact on the project. A lot of elegance and subtlety in this house. I mean, in its architecture. An impressive library, which I wish I had, and the building itself is commanding respect, if not affection, but I would say affection as well. La Maison de Verre, the glass house. And books are always a nice addition to any house and any life. That's it. So let's wish him happy birthday. And today we paid homage to Pugin and Jan Duiker. Thank you for being here today.